Two brothers caught in a jealous fight for one woman.
Caroline's heart belongs to me. Once she sees that letter, there's nothing to keep us apart.
You want me to get rid of the letter?
It's the only way.
And the scheming has just begun.
By the end of the day, one of us will have Caroline.
Do you think I should marry Thor?
And there's more to come. Weekdays.
American vision. World view. That is the promise of CBS News.
This is CBS.
On the 10 p.m. report.
Tonight, preparations to reopen the river after the NSP plant collapse.
Another plane crash, this one in Wisconsin.
Air safety in our Dimension segment. Who's running the control tower?
Also tonight, a special look at having kids when you're not a kid anymore. I'm Don Shelby.
And I'm Pat Miles. The 10 p.m. report is up next.
Introducing the tortellinis from Stouffer's.
Tortellinis? Oh, nice, folks. They live down the block.
Tortellini? He's Italian, right?
Tortellini, my favorite opera star.
Wonderful little pockets of homemade pasta filled with veal or rich cheeses. Topped with creamy Alfredo, tangy tomato, or zesty vinaigrette sauce. Stouffer's Tortellinis. 5 new pasta entrees as good as can be.
Honey, shall we have the tortellinis for dinner?
Couldn't we just be alone tonight?
Your love has lifted me higher than I've ever been lifted before. So keep it up. So keep it up. Quench my desire. Quench my desire. Yeah. You know your love keeps on lifting higher.
Arrow shirts. We've loosened our collar.
Housewife of the 80s, give me a break. Try serving them frozen food.
Frozen? I think I'll eat out.
Cute.
Mom, what do I win if I guess what I'm eating?
The dishes. Tonight, this grief comes to a halt because of these Kraft frozen entrees. They're new. I figure Kraft quality. How can you go wrong? Well, guys, I think they like them.
New Kraft frozen entrees. Kraft quality. Great taste.
And no grief.
The fractured fuselage of a Continental Airlines DC-9 in Denver. Tonight, a clearer view of what happened and a higher death toll.
WCCO Television presents Pat Miles, Don Shelby, Mike Fairborn, and Mark Rosen. This is the 10 p.m. report.
Good evening, everyone. It was little more than 24 hours ago that we were reporting on the crash of that Continental Airlines jet at Denver Stapleton Airport.
Tonight, investigators are combing the scene of another plane crash in a cornfield near Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin. 7 people died when a twin-engine King Air turboprop crashed this morning. Authorities say the victims were all business people on a flight from Chicago to Baraboo, Wisconsin. One witness said the pilot of the commuter craft was circling his troubled plane just before impact.
It was roaring. You know, nothing like I ever heard. It was just awful, and I thought, my God, I'm going to be hit. That's all I could think of. Airplane's going to hit the house. So I jumped out of bed. Just as I jumped out that quick, there was this explosion or it hitting the ground or whatever it did, and it was.
The investigation is only beginning, with teams from the Federal Aviation Administration and the National Transportation Safety Board probing the crash.
Investigators in Denver say the death toll is now 27 from yesterday's crash of a Continental Airlines jet. That crash occurred during the season's first major snowstorm, though airport officials say the weather was nothing they don't deal with every winter. As crews continue sifting through the wreckage, some of the 56 survivors described what happened. They said the plane began dipping just as it raised up from the ground, its right wing shearing off before the fuselage flipped over.
I said to Mary, when I saw those sparks and we were going over, I said, Mary, this is it.
I was buried for the better part of an hour or more under so much debris, I thought they were never going to get me out.
The plane's black box recorders are already in Washington, D.C. tonight for examination, but officials say it could be months before it's determined if bad weather, mechanical failure, or human error was the main cause of that crash. 3 months after the fact, they are still trying to sort out the crash of Northwest Flight 255 near Detroit. 156 people died in that accident. Today, the National Transportation Safety Board opened hearings on the disaster. Alan Cox reports on some findings that Northwest Airlines wants to contest.
pilot testified he watched Flight 255 roll toward takeoff and disaster with its wing flaps properly extended. The black boxes seem to disagree, but a questioner for Northwest Airlines apparently prefers the pilot.
How do you feel about that witness's testimony?
I was not in a position to see what he saw, so I don't know what he really did see. There's a preponderance of evidence that the slats and flaps were in the retracted position, and perhaps it was an optical illusion the gentleman saw.
The technical descriptions sound bloodless, but for survivors of the crash victims watching the proceedings, it's the best hope to understand why they lost a loved one.
I want to know why, yes. Why? Why so many unknowns, so many mistakes?
Among those watching, the widow of Captain John Mouse. He was described in reports released today as a highly competent pilot, occasionally upset by Northwest's treatment of former Republic crew members like himself. His widow says she believes the captain will be vindicated by testimony later this week. 3 months to the night since the accident, floral arrangements mark the freeway embankment where so many people died. The scorched earth seems recovered from the fiery night, but the questions about why so many lost their lives here seem much farther from resolution. With Dave Cheney, Alan Cox, WCCO Television News, near Detroit.
And coming up, we'll have more on air safety in our Dimension segment tonight. We'll take you inside an air traffic control tower.
At least 30 people are under arrest for selling or possessing drugs in the South Lake Minnetonka area. Police and Carver County Sheriff's deputies have been rounding up suspects for the past week and a half following a 6-month undercover probe. Along the way, they've confiscated some $50,000 worth of cocaine, pot, LSD, and other drugs. Dwayne Bisick, convicted of manslaughter in the death of his wife and his daughter, will be able to keep the $270,000 insurance payment resulting from their deaths, which the jury ruled was unintentional. The insurance company has dropped its lawsuit aimed at recovering the money. They believe Bisick has already spent most of it on attorney's fees. St. Paul Councilman John Drew is out of the hospital tonight, 1 week after suffering a heart attack at City Hall. And that's good news because most heart attack patients spend at least 10 days in the hospital. Drew left Fairview Riverside Hospital about 6 p.m. today. He says he's very happy to be going home. We'll take up a moderate exercise program now.
Traffic is moving along again tonight on the Mississippi at St. Anthony Falls. The tugboat Rosie B was the first to go through the lock since part of the river was drained after the power station collapsed just a week ago. Tomorrow, 4 barges are expected to travel upstream through the lower dam locks. Northern States Power says the old plant will be demolished. Dump trucks continue to haul in tons of clay to build a dike around the plant foundation, which washed away. Now Mike Fairborn is standing by with what could be an ominous first look at tomorrow's weather. I knew it was too warm out there.
This may be the first one. We'll have to wait and see, though. Snow advisory in effect by morning. Heavy wet snow when you're driving to work, around 36 degrees. Snow continuing throughout the afternoon, possibly 1 to 3 inches accumulating by evening with a high of only 38. How's that sound, Don?
You've heard the slogan, there's more for your life at Sears. Well, here's a story of a man who owes his life to Sears, or at least to 2 Sears security guards. Paul Paulus and Paul Strong were presented awards of merit today for saving the life of 68-year-old Earl Creasel, who fell unconscious while shopping at Sears on Rice Street one day last September. Strong and Paulus applied CPR until paramedics arrived. In characteristically humble fashion, both men said they don't feel like heroes, saying they were just doing their job.
Until now, plowing through what the snowplow left behind was one of winter's toughest challenges. Now, Toro introduces the exclusive PowerShift snow thrower. The PowerShift automatically puts more weight on the front for a more powerful bite on winter's toughest snow. The new Toro PowerShift. The only challenge left? Getting out of the driveway to go buy one.
Save up to $100 on Toro, Chuck's Lawnmower, Waconia Farm Supply on Avon Lawn and Garden.
At MedCenter's Health Plan, we cover you for routine physicals. We cover you for visits to the doctor's office. We cover you for hospital stays and much, much more. While some other plans, maybe even your plan, try to get by with much, much less. MedCenter's Health Plan. Your coverage better be this good.
Still to come, what happens when middle age and motherhood arrive at the same time? We'll have a report a bit later.
Just in time for the holidays, it's the Price Right sale at Menards. Classic area carpets by Blue are on sale now. Give your home a warm, traditional touch with these rich, timeless carpets. Save on Easy Care Olefin nylon carpets, now just $55. Or choose the soft luxury of natural wool carpets, on sale now for just $109. Spruce up for the holidays and save at Menards. You build America's heartland at Menards.
Just a reminder, this year choose your credit cards as carefully as you choose your gifts. Because when you buy your presents with the Discover card, you get something back. A yearly cashback bonus on every purchase. What other card lets you give and receive? The Discover card. For people who expect value. Use it at places like these.
Tonight in Dimension, the Twin Cities Air Traffic Control Tower. We're going to take you inside and look at the people and the pressures.
Well, first of all, a closer look at a tiny item that made a big difference in court. The Dwayne Bisick trial sure did end with a twist. No one could have predicted that the jury would have found the evidence that apparently helped change the course of the trial. They found remnants of the explosion in his clothing, an explosion that killed his wife and daughter. Those remnants convinced the jury that Bisick was at risk, that it must have been unintentional manslaughter. Mike Strand, who covered the trial, looks at this last piece of critical evidence in a Dimension report.
From the start, the trial of Dwayne Bisick seemed bigger than life. It would include mounds of controversial and potentially incriminating evidence taken from the blast scene. One of the most prominent criminal lawyers in the state arguing for the defense, challenged by a highly regarded and experienced federal prosecutor, and all watched by an entire family that never flinched from its belief that Bisick was innocent of murder.
Now, after a 6-week trial, more than 120 witnesses, and a verdict that took nearly 40 hours to produce, the entire affair boiled down to the discovery of a metal shard about the size of a dime. And while the jury's verdict didn't necessarily turn on this bit of evidence, it heightened doubts about the government's case and suggested strongly that Dwayne Bisick did indeed endanger his own life as well as his family's.
The man who found the shrapnel says he stumbled on it during an examination of the vest with his hands. For he and most other jurors, it was merely added to a long list of missing links in the government story.
Just the inconsistencies of, I felt like if someone told me one thing and then they turned around and told me another thing, I would have doubt. It's just it was a general doubt throughout the whole trial.
The jury forewoman also felt the oversight was consistent with the government's probe. Kathy Anderson believes the case was lost to the incompetence of the federal government's Department of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms.
Evidence wasn't complete, and what are you going to do when there's a doubt? You got a doubt, and I guess all we can do is hope that we did the right thing.
I had an experience about 10 years ago where a similar situation came up, and since that time I've always checked the pockets of clothing that go into evidence. Now, I didn't find any shrapnel in the pocket of that vest when I checked it in August.
Still, for prosecutors and specifically federal investigators, the shrapnel incident raises new concerns about competency and testing for the future. Mike Strand, WCCO Television News.
This is a night when you're confronted with some upsetting stories about air travel. The crash in Denver, the crash in Wisconsin, the investigation into the Detroit crash. And this year we keep hearing about near collisions. Through September of this year, there were 383 reports nationally, 43 more than all of last year. The FAA maintains that the statistics do not mean a greater risk to air travelers. We decided that this would be a good time to look at the people who control the skies, air traffic controllers.
Cindy Hilger joins us tonight with a rare look at what the Twin Cities International Control Tower is all about.
Well, Don and Pat, the people who run the tower expect that outsiders think what happens inside is pure craziness. And when you are trying to bring in and send off 1,000 planes a day, things do get pretty hectic. But the FAA has systems for everything, and that makes for a professional and often upbeat mood. So tonight we go inside the tower, not with any black and white answers about safety, but with an up-close look at who's working while you're flying.
Visibility now 3 miles and fog. The Charlie taxiway, contact ground point at it. Runway 11 left by runway heading clear for takeoff.
Morning rush hour at the airport. 20 planes preparing to land. Today a slowdown. Visibility is just 2.5 miles.
Looks like the 2557, runway 11 left, turn left, heading 105.
Controllers must spread planes farther apart. Pilots in those planes make their first contact with controllers in a windowless room on the first floor. Dark, quiet, controlled. It's here they begin tracking planes on radar, tracking your plane if you're coming home from a trip. While our cameras are here, a problem.
Maintain free fall. Establish on the local
Several miles out, incoming planes have formed 2 lines, one for each runway. But a plane stalls on the ground. A runway must be shut down.
United 353, reduce speed when feasible to 170, and we only have 1 runway right now on account of traffic.
Watch the radar screen for the controller's reaction. They must scramble to merge traffic into just 1 runway. Much of the pressure to rearrange falls on Mike Mankowski's shoulders.
Northwest 895, runway 11 left by heading 120, clear for takeoff.
Everything is coming in and going out on his runway. Challenging, but not overwhelming.
No, I don't think I've ever been afraid of it. Maybe apprehensive at times, and it's always been a challenge.
The folks who work up here are big-time traffic cops.
Northwest 1281, Minneapolis, tower taxi position, hold, runway 11 left.
From the time you get on a plane, they control your schedule. While you're waiting at a gate, that's where they want you. They don't want planes in line for more than 15 minutes. No schedules on the wall up here. Each plane is just a piece of paper. First come, first serve. In the air, they're a blip on the screen.
I think that if you were to consider each aircraft and the number of people on board, that you might have a tendency to put more pressure on yourself than you need to.
Although there's certainly stress in the job, I don't think it's the kind of stress that the average individual pictures by somebody with ulcers sweating over a radar scope.
One stressful time is when the weather turns bad. That happens a lot around here. There is little stress, however, over the publicity about near collisions. They downplay that here, saying this is safer than most airports. Safe like today, when about 150 flights made it in and out during rush hour.
To most of the people here, it's a thrill to be able to work the traffic and look out the window and see the results of what you're doing and see the control of the planes.
Northwest 7 Heavy, heading 120, contact departure.
Mary Rogers' eyes, sparkling blue. Nearsighted, confirmed by doctor's exam. Comfortable with color-accented frames, lightweight plastic lenses with a soft tint. Mary Rogers' eyes, corrected, beautiful, and in love. Pearl knows how glasses work. Pearl cares how glasses look. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
These days, all TV news seems pretty much the same. But at WCCO TV, our 4-dimension news will go beyond the headlines, peeling away the obvious facts, and sometimes uncovering insights that defy comparison. Watch WCCO at 10 for the 4-dimension news and go beyond the headlines.
It's a supercalifragilistic Disney World vacation. There's always something going on. It's quite a celebration. We sing the shout and sail into the blue. That there's nothing left to do.
There's Epcot too.
Under the line. Under the line. It's a supercalifragilistic.
Come on to the world's greatest resort.
Disney World vacation.
Thank you. Say now, Thanksgiving dinner's coming up, so let's make it taste better with real butter. Here's an idea. Turkey. It tastes better basted with butter. Sweet potatoes, they taste better with butter. Hey, keep the butter on the table, makes the whole dinner taste better. So go to the store, get plenty of butter, and make all your holiday meals taste better. I gotta go. Till next time, I'm the Hasty Gourmet. Bye-bye.
It's better with butter.
A good part of the South is cleaning up tonight after another round of brutal storms. The storms that began yesterday from East Texas to Mississippi have killed at least 11 people, left more than 200 people injured. The new damage is stalling efforts to clean up the millions of dollars of wreckage left by yesterday's killer tornadoes that also hit in Texas.
16 and 6/500 inches of rain in Alexandria, Louisiana in 2 days, and 66 tornadoes in 2 days.
It's been weird everywhere, hasn't it?
It really has been. Can we have tornadoes here in Minnesota in November?
I hope not.
I don't remember any.
Well, you probably wouldn't. Back in 1931, though, and this was the last date of the year that we've ever recorded a tornado here in the Twin Cities, but we did have one touch down in the Maple Grove area around 9:35, so we can have tornadoes in November here in Minnesota, but we're looking at snow instead. What we're watching, first of all, this is the major storm down to the south, and all that is pumping moisture northward. We have enough cold air out in the Dakotas that if the cold air moves east and this moisture continues on its present path, by morning we'll have enough of the mix to produce the white stuff, and that's the way it's looking right now. You can see a comma shape to the precipitation on the radar. All this stuff in Iowa, some ice pellets being reported in now, is moving northward, and it will move into the southern part of the state. Probably around midnight tonight. We'll begin to see some light rain developing. The rain will change over to snow by morning and continue throughout the day, and it's going to be one of those that's going to be right on the edge. Right now, we're 40 degrees. It's cloudy. We've been down as cold as 39 degrees in the last couple of hours. 89% humidity. West winds at 3. Dew point of 32, and the barometer is 29.70, and it's slowly climbing right now, but that's going to all change as that low pressure area continues to develop to the south. We had a high today of 58, 39 as we said an hour ago. 0.08 of an inch of precipitation, all that in the form of rain so far, but maybe by morning we'll begin to see some of the snow beginning to accumulate here. And this is part of the reason why. You can see temperatures in the 50s over in Wisconsin right now, 45 down in the southeastern corner of the state at Rochester, but notice the temperatures up to the north and the northwest already dropping down into the 30s, below freezing. We really don't have to get freezing here at the surface. About 35, 36 degrees provides pretty good temperatures for us to begin to get some snow. For that reason, the National Weather Service has issued a winter storm watch for the northeastern part of the state, as much as 6 inches of snow. That's where most of the heavy snow is going to fall. We're going to be right on the line down here, but a snow advisory is in effect for about 1 to 3 inches of snow. Now, the amount we get is going to depend on how soon we change over from rain to snow. Right now, maybe 1 to 3 looks like a pretty good guess. Our weather map for tomorrow, the low pressure area that's down in Missouri right now is going to move right up through central Wisconsin. Enough moisture wrapping around it to mix with the cold air coming in from the Dakotas to give us that mixture of rain and then changing to snow and finally ending up as snow and then tapering off and ending tomorrow night. High temperatures will be in the 30s most of the day, some 20s out to the west of us, but notice the warmth out ahead of it. Almost summertime temperatures, and it's that contrast that's creating all that nasty, nasty weather. Down in the south, that's going to shift eastward over into parts of eastern Tennessee and Kentucky and maybe even the Carolinas by tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night. Tonight, though, for us, cloudy, light rain changing to snow by morning, 38 degrees when you get up in the morning, northwest winds at 10 to 20. Those winds will continue to pick up throughout the day, becoming 15 to 25 miles an hour. Snow advisory will be in effect throughout much of the day, cloudy, windy, and cooler, 1 to 3 inches possible, again, a high right around 38 degrees. The forecast for tomorrow night, a few flurries with a low of 20, and those will gradually taper off, and we'll be back to partly cloudy skies by Wednesday, but it's going to stay cool. High of only 33 degrees, dropping into the 20s on Thursday, slowly warming up with another chance of some rain and snow on Saturday. So be careful, Pat, and all you viewers out there for tomorrow, maybe the first one.
Well, we knew it had to come. Thank you, Mike. Iranian gunboats attacked an Exxon oil tanker in the Persian Gulf today. The Esso Freeport was loaded with Saudi Arabian crude when it was hit, receiving some minor damage. An American warship was nearby when the attack occurred, but could not help because the Exxon vessel was not flying an American flag. Protest petitions are pouring into the nation's capital as word leaks that Social Security benefit increases could be delayed in order to help ease the budget deficit. As a result of the response, it now appears unlikely that Congress will touch Social Security. Former television evangelist Pat Robertson is the second preacher-turned-presidential candidate to visit the Twin Cities in the past 2 days. His speech tonight at St. Paul's downtown Radisson Hotel follows yesterday's visit by the Reverend Jesse Jackson. And the Twin Cities radio airways will be missing a morning team tomorrow. Buck and O'Connor of KDWB were fired today after 2.5 years on the air. Chris O'Connor is philosophical about his dismissal, telling us this evening, quote, "The Twin Cities is a hard market to crack. We did the best job we could."
Minnesota Vikings wide receiver Hassan Jones arrested on DWI charges this morning. That story and more up next on Sports with Mark Wilson.
Of all the reasons you come into a bank, maybe you've never come in for insurance.
discount brokerage services, investments, or retirement planning. Or maybe you just never had someone open the options up to you. Come into your first bank. We'll show you how to draw more out of a bank than just money.
Do you think it would be terribly forward of me to tell you how attracted I am to you?
Everybody knows it's Renko's birthday.
How'd you know it was my birthday? Because I was your present.
And Lieutenant Hunter faces death and love.
She could stop Plymouth at 90 yards, Frank. Find her a good home.
A woman must never rule out the time and place when her man may appear.
On Hill Street Blues.
Twin Cities comes back to the hill tonight on Channel 4.
This time, this place has done a lot for me. The kind of thing happens when the beauty of a place overwhelms you. Things seem different, more positive. I'll be going home in a few days. But I'll be back.
Come back to yourself.
Oh, you lost your skyscraper. Oh, lost your yacht.
Aha, you lost the dice. Game's over.
I'll get my heir on this umbrella.
Umbrella?
Oh, I get the cash.
This umbrella's rigged.
Get this great umbrella. Your gift with any $10 purchase of Aramis, Devon, or 900. Now at Dayton's.
Tough on coaches. Mark Rosen's here.
Ohio State loses 3 straight games by a total of 10 points. Head coach,
Howdy.
goodbye. In 9 years at Ohio State, Earl Bruce compiled the best record of all Big Ten coaches. He also led the Buckeyes to 5 bowl game victories. Today, he was fired. Bruce has been under heavy criticism from fans and media. This morning, before his dismissal, Bruce reacted to the rumors, and so did his adversary, Bo Schembechler.
I'm staying at Ohio State. I like my job. I'm going to prepare and work hard this week on Michigan.
Well, I'm not here to defend Earl Bruce. I'm just saying from a professional standpoint, it makes Columbus look pretty damn bad.
Now, after Earl Bruce received the bad news this afternoon, he was even more emotional.
And I'm kind of proud of what I've done here. Daggone proud of not only what I've done on the football field, but daggone what I've done in the classroom for our kids getting their education and work hard at my job. And I'm daggone loyal to Ohio State.
Well, for the first time since 1979, Ohio State may not go to a bowl. The Gophers are also facing that possibility with Iowa coming up Saturday. Bowl game payoffs are getting bigger and the pressure to win getting greater. But that's something John Goodicund says just comes with the territory.
Football coaches live with that pressure all the time. You better, that's one of the responsibilities. Football's a sport that raises a great deal of the money, and it's intrinsic in the fact that you go to a bowl game, you get some more money that particular year. So we live with that pressure all the time.
It's not often a #1 team will lose its position after a win, but that's exactly what happened to Oklahoma. The Sooners lost #1 to Nebraska, which did not even play Saturday. Oklahoma struggled to beat Missouri 17-13. Of course, the big matchup, Nebraska-Oklahoma, this Saturday on Channel 4, Miami, Florida State, and UCLA round out the top 5. There's pain in every pro football game, but Sunday's battle with Tampa Bay was costly. The lengthening injury list and the quarterback situation are the focus. Wade Wilson's first-half performance produced only 6 points. His stats were not overwhelming. Neither were Tommy Kramer's, who came on in the second half. Even Wilson admits it's tough looking over your shoulder.
It's just human nature to know that you have a player on the sideline that's waiting to come in if you're playing poorly. So I'm sure in the back of my mind that I know that could happen at any time. So, but I try not to let it affect me when I'm on the field.
At least Kramer and company don't have to wait until Friday for Jerry Burns' decision. He made it yesterday, tabbing Kramer to start. Well, maybe.
Did he say until Sunday or Friday?
Meanwhile, Dennis Swilley broke his leg, forcing Kirk Loudermilk, number 63, to play despite an injured knee. While Loudermilk ponders the pain, Dave Huffman commiserates a battered line.
Pain is part of the job, I guess. I don't know. You don't think about that stuff. Sometimes you got to do for others
instead of just yourself. I don't want to be sounding like some hero or anything. I just did my job.
What Mike Lynn says, they got, what, 500 available players on a list they can bring in? Wish he'd brought him in for the strike, Mike. They can go out and find somebody or bring somebody in, or I'm sure they're going to have to look at that situation very carefully, because if we want to go somewhere, you got to have a line.
Well, Dave, good news. Mike Lynn did go out and sign one of those 500 available players. His name is Randy Rasmussen, a former Gopher who can play both guard and center. Now, you mentioned Hassan Jones. He was arrested by Bloomington police late last night for DWI, the 5th Viking this year to face that predicament. Jones will make a court appearance in 8 days.
Interesting what the Vikings have to say about this.
That'll probably come tomorrow.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Mark. Now, we hope you'll stay with us. Up next, we're going to talk about women who have waited until later to have babies.
Yeah!
What will you do when you find out how much you could have saved at Knox? Knox. Nobody beats our building supplies.
Save on items throughout the store during the Knox pre-holiday sale. Going on now.
How you gonna keep them down on the farm?
This kind of goodness only comes from farmland. But you can't keep our little 2-pound hams down on the farm. They're made for a life of convenience, and they're hidden in the city, lean, pre-sliced, and ready for anything. A quick meal, a party, a snack. Farmland's delicious little 2-pound ham is right at home in the heart of things. The best things come from farmland. A lot of them head straight for town.
This is it, the first sale you've been dreaming about. This is it, the sale you must see to believe. This is it, the once-a-year event that has everyone talking. This is it, Albrecht's Mr. Mink sale. Thousands of fur fashions at fantasy prices. The fabulous Albrecht Mr. Mink sale ends Saturday. We've got your fur and it's beautiful. This is it, the Mr. Mink sale at Albrecht's.
We can't tell you whether it is a trend that will continue, but have you noticed how many women are having their babies later in life?
Of course, we all hear about the celebrities, Mia Farrow, Sybil Shepherd, Glenn Close, but many of us have our own friends who are having children for the first time in their late 30s and early 40s. We'd like you to meet some of those people and hear their stories. For 37-year-old Gwen Sharp, 5-month-old Bronwyn is a blessing. Like many first-time mothers over 35, she had difficulties conceiving. But after 5 years of medical tests, surgery, and disappointment, she and husband Joe experienced a miracle.
Trying to be involved really with our jobs and our friends and traveling, you've done all that. And I really feel content to be at home. I love it. You know, I love being, I mean, it's almost like finally time to settle down and enjoy a family.
Gwen certainly isn't alone. Last year in Minnesota, over 10,000 babies were born to new mothers 35 and over. And with more women focusing on careers and delaying marriage, the trend is to push the panic button in the mid-30s.
Also, you have to do special things for people at 35 and above to make certain that the pregnancy is normal. Amniocentesis and checking the baby in a number of ways, organ development, and of course, when you think about it that way, there is a time clock.
For an established career woman like Laura Eldridge, becoming a parent at the age of 39 will be a major life change.
It certainly will be different. I think we both feel that we've had a lot of years to do a lot of the things that we wanted to do. We've heard a lot of older parents say it's something that keeps you young, and maybe it generates the energy because you're around younger ones all the time.
Laura's husband, Charles, is in his 50s and anticipating the birth of his first child.
So I've had an opportunity to see my grandparents raise 2 children, my sister and myself, and they didn't seem to get run down and run out of energy too much.
Another little stylish thing. So isn't that darling?
Adjusting to life with baby may have greater impact on the older parent than expected.
It is physically and emotionally difficult, and we cannot minimize that. It is more difficult at 40 than at 20.
There's no doubt about it. Again, it can be done. It depends on your priority. And for at least the first couple of years, they discover that they're doing a lot, but they don't have to do it all. They can do maybe a little bit of a restricted career and maybe a little bit of a restricted parenting job, but where they can really do some and feel real good about themselves. I'm continuously surprised at how many people get it to work.
So obviously, she had the baby then.
She did. The baby's almost a month old now.
And how are they doing?
Alex.
How is Laura doing?
How's Laura doing? Well, she's very tired. As a matter of fact, I called her. I called her tonight to tell her that the show would be on and she should watch. She said she couldn't stay up that late. She had to tape it.
You're going to videotape it. We understand, Laura. We've been there.
And that's where we're going to leave it for this Monday, November 16th.
Until tomorrow, good night.
Good night.
Hi, I'm Sid Hartman. Join me on the Boone and Erickson Show as we talk sports, weekday mornings at 6:45 a.m. on WCCO Radio.
We'd like you to meet the people who helped us win more journalism awards last year than any other Minnesota newspaper, including a Pulitzer Prize. But they don't show up here very often.